Want to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order, and the first order of business is roll call.
Kowal? Here. Zach?
Here.
Long? Here. Tubb?
Here.
Fleming?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Woodward? Quarles? Middleton?
Here. We have a quorum. Thank you. Next is pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get started, I got a reminder from Joanne. If members are planning on going to economic development, a luncheon, which is following our next finance meeting, you got to talk to Joanne and make reservations for it. So I've taken care of that, so I won't forget. Next, we need to approve the minutes of the previous meeting of March 8th and March 15th. The March 8th was just before the board meeting. Crawford is moving it, Kowal is supporting it. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next is presentation of the agenda. I have no changes to the agenda. Someone wants to move to accept the agenda. Tubb and Fleming. Any discussion on the agenda? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next is public comment. Being what we have a standing room only crowd, but is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to us? If not, I'll close public comment and we'll move on to the contingency report. And I need a motion to receive and file the contingency report. Zach is moving it, Fleming is supporting it. So go ahead.
Good morning. On page 1 of the report, which is page 10 of your PDF, you have a general contingency balance of $50,294. There are no items on today's agenda that impact that amount. Moving on to page 6, which is page 15 of your PDF, we have 2 miscellaneous capital outlay items. One for the Sheriff's Office, Patrol Services pit vehicle replacement for $27,100, and Central Services a compressor for their mail sorter for $5,200, leaving a balance of $551,241. On page 10, which is page 19 of your PDF, there is item number 2 on the agenda for the Sheriff's Office for the 2018 medical marijuana operation and oversight grant acceptance. We're using the balance in the Sheriff Aviation Assigned Fund balance of $65,805. And then finally on page 11, which is page 20 of your PDF, item number 7 on the agenda for Health and Human Services Homeland Security, purchase of incident management software using $65,000 out of the technology replacement and hardware assigned fund balance.
Okay. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor of receive and file signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next, we'll go to communications, and we'll take communications A, B, C, D, E, and F. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Tubb.
Well, first I have to file. Okay, here we go. Michigan Association of Planning, this is Dan Hunter.
You want to pull the mic a little closer to you, can you?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I need a motion to receive and file the communications, Fleming and Long. Okay, go ahead, Shelley.
Okay. You're doing some project or something at the Southfield Pavilion.
That was the partnership with Google for high school students, and the Southfield Pavilion was the largest facility that was available on that day. That was grant funded through the Michigan Department of Commerce.
Okay, so what schools are involved?
That was done last month, and there were about 15 to 20 schools from around the county and around the region that had gone to Lansing last year for this event. Most of them were from Oakland County. I can get you that list.
Okay, was it a volunteer type of thing as opposed
Yes.
to? Okay.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on communications? Yes, Commissioner Woodward. Oh, Commissioner Top, you got another one?
Well,
Okay, we'll go to Woodward and then we'll come back.
Okay.
Well, I was a communication app.
Okay,
Are we talking about that?
yeah, we can. Or do you want to stay on purchasing? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, why don't we stay on communication AA and then go with it?
This
Go ahead.
is Hands-On Technology Transfer, Inc. It's a Clemis thing, and I just wanted to know about this, what this thing is.
Okay, the experts are coming to the table.
Uh-oh, here they come. Okay, what
Morning.
is this event?
We needed training to, for our programmers who are programming our police and fire applications. And we're moving it into a different type of mobile environment, and they needed the new software and the new training on that, so we needed to bring them up to speed with that.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more for McCabe, Under Sheriff McCabe. I'm just asking, just 3 little letters,
Yes, ma'am.
DNA.
It's open, I told you.
Yeah.
We've got a soft opening where I got a letter on my desk right now to send out to the police chiefs announcing we've already had 12 hits. We solved a murder in Oak Park for Oak Park PD on a DNA
Good.
hit. And as I told you, you'll be the first one invited in, Commissioner.
Just checking how far we're going. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, when I was reviewing that, I said, oh, Shelley's got a question right there. I knew that. So, okay, if there's no other questions on the earlier communications, we'll go to communication F with this, which is Michigan 911 County Surcharge Rate effective 7/1 of 17.
But is that also related to regular agenda
Also,
ones?
item number 1 of the full
So,
agenda.
okay, then I guess we don't need to talk about it now. We're going to talk about it in a minute.
Well, as I read that one, and then I went to item number 1, and I'm thinking, I just read all this stuff. You know, so it's almost a duplicate, yes. But they needed to both be on the agenda, so. Okay, if there's no other questions on the communications, vote on to receive and file. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay, now we're opposed, the same. Motion carried. Now we're on the regular agenda, and it's Mr. Dado's memo dated March 29th of 2018 on 911 operating surcharge, with a rate proposal for July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. Need a motion. Fleming and Colwell. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Were we intending on actually taking action on this thing here today?
No, it says informational, and we're receive and file.
Okay.
And
Very good.
we'll take it up at the next meeting.
Right. That's why, that was
But
my
it gives all the committee members a format and a knowledge of what's going to be being discussed. So,
Right.
yeah, go ahead.
That's great. What I have with you is a memo dated March 29th on the annual required review of the operating surcharge necessary to fund the capital program as well as operations for radio. This is a requirement by state statute. We've done this for the last 7 or 8 years, maybe longer. And it will cover the operating surcharge that will find its way on cell phones, landlines, and a few other devices that will be from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. The biggest issue, as was the case last year, that we have in front of us is essentially the replacement of a major portion of the radio system here as outlined in the memo. Let me go through some of the highlights of the memo, and Pat Coates, who is with me, is the PSAP coordinator for the county, and I have Jeff Nesmith as well, who is Clemis chair, or Clemis manager. He didn't get a promotion. Close, but not close. Yeah. A couple items here. There are 2 items relating to the accuracy of information in the document. The first one here deals with the request for proposal for the replacement equipment is on the street right now and won't be back until late April in terms of the effort. To that end, I had to again rely on a Black & Veatch consultant's report that was issued last year on the pricing of many of the pieces of equipment that would be in the document itself. So to that end, if the proposals to serve, which will be coming in very late April, and will take probably a couple months to analyze, differ from what I have in the cost analysis here for the projections, either as to timing or amount, that could change the bottom line need, if you will. Second issue here is that, as we talked about before, it involves the replacement of what is known as the EZNet. In the past, we had 1963 copper that is now essentially replaced, and I think we're pretty close to being operational. If I'm not, we have one punch list item left before we're operational. As you recall, we have a company here who will operate the system called PFN. They're probably the predominant player in this industry for 911 telecommunications throughout the state. So we're not even close to being alone. The problem with EZNet is that it has to be up, running, and then ultimately an application put forth involving the costs. The annual cost of this effort is about $2.7 million, with the exception of the first year, which is about $3.4 million per year. We are hoping that the state reimburses us for that amount. Well, yeah, we had been waiting for a long time for the state to pass legislation involving a rewrite of the operating surcharge. Because the underlying fund relating to how this thing would be funded, it was running out of money, which would make our ability here to secure any dollars from that fund academic. We are now at a point where, because the legislation passed about a month and a half ago, and in no small measure due to Pat's lobbying effort over 5 years, and the legislation has put some additional funds in there. Nowhere near what we were hoping for, but better than what we had, which was zero. The problem I have with this is that we won't know for certain, probably until summer or fall, as to whether or not we're going to get $1 out of that effort, or we'll get fully funded. Which makes my ability here to project the revenues associated with the reimbursement of this particular piece uncertain. So you'll hear me talk about bookmarks. I have two assumptions. One where we get fully funded, one where we get nothing from the state with regards to the EZNet operations. It's likely we'll be in the middle, but I don't know where in the middle we'll be. And the fluctuation at $2.7 million a year is significant to the bottom line as to what would be available to fund and how we fund the capital need. We have 5 other issues, one dealing with fire paging that we decided to add in after last year's effort. Fire paging is one where the fire units need a second pathway to actually receive the communication that there's a problem out in the field. There's a fire, there's a medical emergency, whatever. And to that end, they had fire paging units. Unfortunately, the fire paging units, paging is technology that probably ended in 1990, but they're still using it, which means that quite frankly, many of these units are old. They may not connect well to a new system. And it made sense here to include the cost of the fire paging units as part of this effort, because it is now, the units, the vendors, if you will, sell what is known as P25 paging systems as a byproduct or an accessory to the system. So we'll be offering that as part of the effort, and I've included that in the cost. The logging recorder has very much the same issue. When you telephone 911, everything is recorded, obviously, because they need to be able to play it back for emergency purposes and/or legal purposes. So any communication between the field and the PSAP, or the caller and the PSAP, is recorded. And again, the systems are all divergent out in the field. and we have 18 PSAPs out there, plus one secondary PSAP. Royal Oak Tower, the city is attempting to and will be replacing their city hall. We have a very nice tower that's sitting right on City Hall's property, attached with our antenna, which means that antenna is coming down sometime in the future when they tear down the City Hall to make a park. So we're attempting to relocate that tower, but that will have some timing issues associated with us.
And you can move with 70 feet, within 70 feet?
We aren't anywhere near that.
Okay, so that's not an option?
Nope.
Okay.
You can move within about 70 feet, 70 meters, I think is
Okay.
the distance, without seeking a re-up on your frequency with the FCC, which is very time consuming. Southfield is included in the proposal at $1.5 million as a placeholder. Southfield is the only unit that has been excluded from, at their request initially, from the system. And to that end, they have recently indicated that they have interest in joining the system.
Good.
Which, if we can get them into the system, would be terrific. In the past, the problem wasn't dollars in terms of bringing Southfield on board, as much as the availability of frequencies that didn't exist. And we have, of course, the critical problem of consoles that are in need of repair. They've been out of production since 2016. We have sufficient parts to continue as we have been downsizing the number of PSAPs. We take back their consoles and we're using those as parts. And finally, the contingency in this estimate has a $5 million contingency going forward. I haven't got a clue as to whether that's enough or not, but that's what Black & Veatch had recommended.
Okay.
There is going to be a fair amount of uncertainty in the two items relating to the proposal and EZInet going forward. Summary of the need for the financing. In 2016, we had an operating surcharge per device at 28 cents per month. In 2017, and this is June 30th year ends, 17 was 28 cents. When I came here last year, we were in the process of scoping out the capital need and replacement of this equipment. And we needed to increase the funding in order to fund the capital need. The board moved that number from 28 cents per device to 32 cents per device, or if you will, 50 cents per device per year. Rounded. Yeah. Not exactly a budget buster. The request that's on the table right now is to move the 32 cents to 36 cents. Same issue, same reasoning as to the need, and that is what we had indicated we would need last year when we brought this request to the table. In 2020, we'll need 42 cents, which is the max that can be raised. The original legislation that was passed involving the increase in the operating surcharges at the state level would have helped in this regard. As the original, it was 55 cents. It's got scaled back to 48 and then to 42. The legislation, unfortunately, is not going to provide much local revenues for us at all. My estimates is somewhere in the order of about 10,000, which for this purpose is rounding errors. The only advantage we have right now is to secure reimbursement from the Michigan Public Services Commission on the EZInet at some time later on this summer or fall. I'm going to talk about bookends for a second. Bookends are the two principal decision points. Am I going to get fully funded, or am I going to get nothing? And the analysis in exhibits A, B, C, and D provide the bookends on those two approaches, because it really drives the discussion of how much we are going to have to borrow in terms of this particular program, and then pay the debt service going forward. And in the case of both of these financial analyses, quite frankly, it's pretty much the same as what we talked about last year in terms of the dollar amounts. There was an error in my prior item, and the amount that we're looking to borrow, assuming that we get fully funded, is about 12 million. If we don't get fully funded, it's about 21 million. And on the 21 million, we would have to actually pony up a general fund operating subsidy of about 1.6 million to cover the debt service relating to that if we don't get funded from the state through the on the ESNINet project. To that end, this has been discussed with the Budget Task Force. We took this to the Radio Oversight Committee. It was passed at the Radio Oversight Committee, and the next step is to have the discussion that we're having today at the Finance Committee. And I presume that people have read the memo, and I'm open for questions on the memo.
Okay, Commissioner Woodward had a question on the communications, which also covered this whole thing. So I'm going to move his question first in this discussion.
Sure, yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
mostly I just wanted to make sure that we were having a discussion.
Yeah,
right?
oh, okay.
That's so, good. So in some of this infrastructure costs that are needed, we mentioned Southfield, we mentioned Royal Oak, how much of that gets borne by the local community as compared to this system?
Pretty much nothing. Royal Oak would be an exception to that because they requested the move, which has been a historical issue with Clements, that if a, not just the radio system, but elsewhere, is if the local unit asks for a move or does some things, if you will. I can think of Troy, for example, who had shooting range with lead in it that contaminated some of our equipment. That's not our problem. That was your problem. I can think of other issues associated with mold at I want to say Kego Harbor area that had a problem that contaminated our equipment. Not our issue, your issue. You got to replace that. If we ask for the move, generally it's been that we cover the cost because we requested the move, if you will. So with that exception, the entire cost of this effort is borne by the system. There may be some accessory cost that would exist, microphones on shoulders or something that are ancillary to the system that they may need to cover. But the principal backbone of the system, which is 99% of the cost, is what you're looking at here.
And then the second thing is obviously based on whatever the costs are. I assume we'll be bonding out the dollars necessary to sustain that, and then are we going to be doing multiple bonding to acquire all the capital, or are we going to do it all at once? Given just the environment we're in and interest rates going up, it would seem to me that moving sooner rather than later.
Well, a couple of things with regards to what you just asserted. First of all, we have about 24 million as in the fund itself. So we have been anticipating this effort and building the cash position, which is the starting point of where we are. And to that end, we've got 24 million already set aside, but I'm looking forward as to the complete piece of the project. We'll be bonding somewhere around 2019 on this issue, and that really depends upon how fast we are going to spend the money, which the timetable of which is going to be something that would be part of the proposal to serve from the vendor. So that question I can't really answer with any precision until I get the proposals back and we have a successful vendor. As to the interest rates rising, the short-term interest rates are rising as a result of the federal fund rates, but the longer-term interest rates are not moving in concert with the Fed fund rate. So the short-term is moving in concert, but the long-term is not. So
yeah.
So to that end, I have used in this rate what was J.P. Morgan's projections on where the 10-year interest rate will be circa first quarter of 2019, as I recall, and that's J.P. Morgan's projections.
Thanks.
Okay, Chris Long.
Okay.
Oh, I have Tom too.
Oh, you want to go first, Chip?
No, that's okay.
Thank you. So on that RFP, are we, for the replacement equipment, are we going to wait, to have this back on the agenda to after those RFP?
No,
back in?
we cannot. This particular application for the operating surcharge is due no later than May 15th in the hands of the state with a board resolution behind it. If that doesn't occur, we lose all the revenue because we've got no authority to put any operating surcharge, and the board would have to come up with about $6.5 million.
So do you have a pretty good guess of what that RFP, the ranges it's going to be in, or no?
Nope.
It's kind of hard. Here
Did
comes
you
Lori.
point out that it's consistent with the plan that was presented a year ago?
Last year,
Yeah.
it is consistent with last year's. Now, we did hire a group called Black and Veatch. And Black and Veatch estimated those costs based on various alternatives. And to that end, I've adjusted Black and Veatch's numbers because they provided what is known as list price. Well, we're not going to get list price. We're already, with the open sky system we have today, we get list price less 25%. My analysis for the principal pieces of the cost is list price less 80%. And we're going into a competitive bid process. So to that end, people are going to be a little price conscious in theory and actually, you know, be very, they're going to propose list price. So if we've got list price less 75, I've used list price less 80% based on Black and Veatch's numbers from last year.
Okay, and one other question on this, on PDF 155, where it says our surcharge and stuff, what does Macomb do? They have no county surcharge?
They do not. They have never had
How do
one.
they operate on 21 cents total? for this?
General fund.
Okay. This was, I've never seen this, I don't know if we've seen this chart before, but.
You have,
Okay.
every year.
We have, yeah.
Okay. I guess I never noticed Macomb has nothing, 21 cents, so, okay. Thank you.
Okay, I have Todd and then Zach. Go ahead.
Okay, Southfield is coming online. Tell me what you're talking about.
Well, if you go back in the history of things, Pernick and Aaron objected to, at the request of Southfield, to actually come on the system. This goes way back when, because they
Yes.
had their existing system that they were happy with, and they chose not to do that. Fast forward a few years, and we get into the A21 swap debates with the city of Detroit, where it gets into a lot of discussion, but the reality here is that the swap debates effectively created problems for us in the launch of that project, because the well-defined plan of the state pertaining to frequencies changed.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we were trying to the state was trying to accommodate Detroit coming on the system. Unfortunately, their system, couldn't accommodate 821 level frequencies. We had 808, so the state forced us to swap.
Okay, I remember that.
Now, when that happened, it created an incredible problem for the state, because it essentially destroyed the frequency plan that they had, because they were grabbing frequencies from all over the state to make this thing happen. And as a result, that plan is now in the toilet. It's gone. And in the interim, other people have brought systems up and used what's out there available. By the time Southfield came back circa 2006 to 9, saying we want to join the system, there wasn't frequencies to be had to accommodate their request. That they simply didn't exist in the system. And the problem for us is that if we took other frequencies off other towers, other people who have been on the system for a long period of time would have been disturbed with busies or other problems, with the system's functionality. So we couldn't bring Southfield up. Now that we're bringing up a brand new system, if you will, different platform, Southfield is challenging whether or not we can bring them aboard. In the interim period, their system, which I think is UHF,
Correct.
the federal government issued what is known as short spacing. And the problem is that your bands are very short, and it used to be like this in terms of your bandwidth. But because they were trying to find more bandwidth in the world, what they wound up doing is saying, well, everyone is going to get a shorter bandwidth. The problem was the equipment in the field can't accommodate a shorter bandwidth, so it would have to be replaced. Now, those standards have been in place for how long?
6 years.
6 years? So they've been dealing with the issue that their system, probably has busies or interference from other people in and around the effort because the system itself can't accommodate the short spacing.
Got it.
So there's a legitimate need, and if it is feasible, I'd like to be able to bring Southfield into this system so that we have a uniform system throughout the entire county.
So they're the only ones that are out of it.
That's right.
Okay. Now,
I think they also do Lathrop Village too.
Yes.
So it's, Lathrop is within
yeah,
Southfield.
what's in Southfield Township? Okay, so I have another question. Now, we're putting all this wonderful equipment in, okay, and hopefully, with the fingers crossed, the whole county will be on a single system.
That's right.
All right, who's doing the answering for all this? How many?
17.
18.
We have 18
18.
And one secondary PSAT.
Okay, so.
And if we bring Southfield on,
Does any of this
that would
money,
be 20.
does any of this money help
Southfield's in the
the
18.
people who are doing the actual answering or their facilities? And not, it doesn't.
What?
It pays equipment that.
The consoles that the dispatchers
That's
use.
it.
Right.
But if you're jammed in because you've had more population and more growth, like sardines into a space, that doesn't count. Is that correct? Because the last time I visited the sheriff's place, they looked like they were sardines
Well,
in a can.
the sheriff
I'm sorry.
the sheriff can't really accommodate much more than what they have here today.
Right.
Okay.
And, they might be able to take a small PSAP, but anything that's
So
real
if,
size.
if, as an example, Royal Oak, I'm picking on Royal Oak, decides they want the sheriff to do their, well, I pick on Bloomfield Township, they don't, but neither one does, but they want.
Those are
decide-
too large.
Okay, you couldn't physically do it.
Not
But
without,
I think there's gonna come a time, in my personal opinion, that people are gonna want a single answering point, okay? And so, there's no way we could ever accommodate them.
Not in the current facility.
Okay, just asking,
no.
because as I said, they looked like sardines the last time I was there. and-
Well, remember, we've gone from, when we launched this effort, somewhere around 32 PSAPs, and we're down to 18.
Right.
Well, that was before my time, so it
Yeah.
doesn't count.
It wasn't before my time.
Okay, so we started at 36, we've cut it in half, and our facility hasn't grown, and that's the problem. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Zach?
I just want to go back to this chart and fully understand it. So technical.
What page is it on?
That's
It's
actually
actu-
the front of the communications.
Okay,
I think it's at the back of the other one.
okay. Go into the communications.
My PDF is 155.
Oh, that's mine.
Yeah, that, you were looking at the same thing. So just to understand, you have the technical charge recurring, and that varies based on what that county votes.
No, the technical surcharge is the charge imposed by the telephone service providers themselves. The
Okay.
county has no say in it, they never see the money.
Okay,
The
so
phone
that-
companies charge that, and they retain it, and they have to submit their actual costs.
So Wayne has much lower cost than on that versus Oakland. And that's because the telephone companies say, okay, we're gonna charge you less?
No, that's because, actually ours was much lower than Wayne's last year on this chart. But right now, we are paying the technical surcharge. That's just folks with landlines. That has nothing to do with cell phones. Folks with landlines are paying this technical surcharge because right now we're supporting two networks. We're supporting the new network that PFN is putting in for us and the legacy network that AT&T had. So there are two major providers submitting costs to that fund. So ours went up. The maximum it can be is 80 cents.
Okay, and then the technical charge, non-recurring,
Right.
is again coming from the,
From the phone companies. That, we did not have a non-recurring cost last year. We have one this year because PFN can submit some of their build-out costs for that. It's a new and temporary cost while they recoup their build-out costs. All of this that they're able to submit to this is money we don't have to pay from the county funds.
Okay, and then county charges, what is the ceiling that a county can go to? You know, I'm looking at Lenawee, which is smaller, obviously, $3.
Right. A vote of the people can go up to $3.
Okay, and without a vote of the people, it's 80 cents?
Now, without a vote of the people, it's 42.
42 is the highest. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next I have Woodward and then Tom.
So, I know, and we've had this conversation before, and we're talking about this is the way that we have been funding the system, and I've raised, some of my concerns with the inequity that's built into it. What are all the options to be able to fund this system? So we have the surcharge mechanism that we have the vote of the people of a higher surcharge if we so feel. Have we fully vetted and explored all of the other options that are available to do this?
You can propose your resolution on property taxes if you'd like.
So a property revenue,
Property tax
or the general fund can cover the $6.5 million. Those are pretty much the two.
And what I mean by inequitable is that, the way that by charging just surcharges that have an origination in Oakland County. So if I set up my address, right? No, address,
billing
where
address.
the billing address of where it
Correct.
comes from. So if, my cell phones are through my company in Macomb County, it's paying nothing into the Oakland County system.
Correct.
Correct. Right. And yet, from a public safety point of view, we're providing, whether you have a cell phone or not, or don't, what have you. Well, I guess the landlines.
What did you say about your cell phone?
So if if my cell phone is paid for my business in Macomb County,
okay.
There is no surcharge, actually. Macomb just chooses not to do it at all, so you don't pay anything. But there is no money being generated to support the Oakland County system, which is a premier system, and the upgrades, 100% support, and all those types of things. That everyone's not paying their fair share, and it's being borne by those who have a Oakland County cell phone billing address. So, and if my math is correct, a 0.1 mil, which would be $10 per average $200,000 home, would generate about $5+ million, probably more than what we're generating. 5.5 million. I would never get into a competition with you, my friend. But very good. Would actually be generating more money than our current system, and that yet our current system, and frankly, you'd probably be paying more going through the mechanism that we currently are. Paying at least at the full projection of where we're going to be growing to. And so it's really only borne by those who have a billing address. So there are plenty of other, I would say, users and others that are benefiting. Benefiting from public safety is not probably the right way to think about it. It's just there's a cost for the public safety that's important. It's one of our principal roles and responsibilities. What's a fair way that we pay for it? And frankly, I think long term will be cheaper if we, maybe explore looking at those other things. I put it in the context of another conversation that was, again, we danced around a little bit around the need for additional redundancy. We're at capacity at our current existing dispatch center. We need to build another one. I think that I felt there was a consensus. We got to figure out how to do that. Why not figure out how to do that in concert of all of this, thinking long term? And at the end of the day, it is probably going to be cheaper for the lion's share of residents if we look at a property revenue way of doing it. Because I don't think we can build a dispatch center with this fund, correct?
Let me answer two
of
those questions. The first one here is that right now, user pays, which is tied to the individual phone. You got a cell phone, you got a landline, you pay. And to that end, I have no idea why my value of my home has anything to do with whether I could call 911 or not. And so to that end, that's one problem. The second problem is that you've ignored is that the converse occurs. If a phone, if the cell phone exists in Wayne County, based on your assertion, and, they don't pay any taxes to Oakland County, that's fine. But the reverse occurs as well. People in other counties, people are located in Oakland County's businesses where we have a principal business, the reverse is true. So to that end, it just doesn't go one way that the phones are out county not paying our taxes. The reverse is true, that some other people living in other areas have phones that are Oakland County based. And by the way, they probably have more in the county because we got more of the commercial entities in the county doing that.
But
So I would counter
we don't
that.
have all that data. We actually, I
Well,
I agree in
we
theory
don't
that's
have that.
possible, sure.
We don't have that data.
We don't have that data. So I get,
Well, it's not possible. I mean, if you think that it doesn't exist, that's.
I'm not saying it
that's-
doesn't exist. I'm
that's
arguing that
naive.
it's not a net gain.
That's
I guess
just
I would just
naive.
push back on like this, a user fee for public safety. Public safety is for everybody. I mean, I was driving on the road, we called 911, there was a roadside fire. I used, like, my resources to call 911 because in the public good. And so I think we go down a dangerous path that, like, listen, you just pay for, like, kind of your share and your use. I mean, it's there to protect the public, and funding it at a fair, equitable way that's sustainable. I mean, frankly, based on this projection, we're actually increasing this tax on cell phones 150% over 3 years. I mean, and frankly, I mean, at that trajectory, I mean, we are. And
We're
I
talking
realize that
50
we're
cents
literally
per
nickel and
person
diming our,
served.
what?
Don't play percentages on 150%. We're talking 50 cents.
A year.
Okay.
Okay.
Your number's correct.
And-
But I remember when, in the legislature, we increased 100% on the fishing license for seniors. We went from $1 to $2. And in the paper, it said 100% increase. So
I
we
guess-
get hit with those things. Okay, let's go on. I have Tom and then Cole after that.
Well, Bob, this is the annual question.
Sure.
Are we getting any information or any
Oh.
ability to audit the cell phone companies? The answer is no, I know, but you can say it again.
No,
Okay, so, yeah.
but.
The
but-
legislation does establish a procedure. If our fiscal services folks, detect someone who was giving us more money last year is suddenly not giving us that money this year, there is now a process through the Michigan Public Service Commission where we can open up one of their, whatever they call them, a ticket.
Whatever, yeah.
And there's actually a process. Now, that didn't exist before this legislation. It was, we had to bear court costs to try and find out what was going on. Now there's a process through the Public Service Commission where we can file a request for them to look into it. So we did not get the authority to audit. We were hoping for that, but of course, as it goes through the process at the state, many folks had different interests in this bill, including the telephone communications folk. So that got reduced a bit, but there is stronger language in there now.
So we still don't know, in the household that used to have 1 or 2 landlines and now has 4 or 5 or 6 cell phones, we still don't have answers for that. And as I understand it, our income from the cell phone companies is kind of flat, kind of about the same as it's been for the past 10, 15, 20 years. And I keep saying the same thing over and over. I sound like a broken record. I know for a fact that there are more cell phones and landlines in this county. And forget the businesses, and I also know that businesses, if they have 100 cell phones or 1, they pay a bulk rate, am I correct?
Cell phones.
On the,
Groups
That's
No,
on-
just on the landlines.
just on the landlines?
Right.
Well, what do they pay on cell phones, individual rates?
Yes. The problem with cell phones is if I get rid of my landline and add in 5 cell phones, you don't know if those are 5 contractual cell phones or 5 prepaid cards.
Right.
Right.
I've gotten a prepaid service so my kid can take a phone to college. And I've given them X number of minutes to try and keep costs down, which is never going to work with kids in college, but.
We try.
So, our local surcharge at the county is not assessed on those prepaids. That's only the state surcharge. So to say that landlines are decreasing, therefore our cell phones at the county should be increasing is not necessarily true, because more and more of the market is going to those prepaids.
So we have no way of collecting any, our, what is it, 40 to 28 cents or whatever it is, per month from prepaids.
No, but the state surcharge on those prepaids has been increased by the new Public Act, which is why we will see a little bit more money back from the state, as Mr. Dadow mentioned, because but that is also what is funding the network costs.
Okay, got it.
Because they increased that is how they're funding this, and we have great hopes of being able to get a lot of our ESI net reimbursed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to say that I agree with, and I realize what Commissioner Memorial is trying to do to make things more equitable, but adding more onto our property taxes, I mean, we pay a millage for the police and fire in our own area as is. We just passed a millage, or it was passed in White Lake by 3 votes for a library millage. Then we've got the RTA staring at us. So it's like, you know, pretty soon we're all gonna be living in this little box, because we're not gonna be able to afford to live in our homes. But having said all that, 2 things. One is that White Lake is considering a new township hall and offices, and definitely more than 700 meters away. Do you have any idea about what the cost is to relocate one of those towers, or is it just in anything?
That's hard to say. It would depend a lot on what they need to do as far as acquiring land and how tall that tower needs to be. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of that is based on ground elevation, and without knowing where they would move to and what they might need a taller tower. They generally don't move the tower, they generally tear it down and build a new one.
Yeah.
So depending on what their needs are, what soil samples show, what kind of foundation they have to put in, it's very convoluted. It can be anywhere from just the tower part from about $600,000 to $1 million. Depending on height and the foundation that's required.
I just want to make sure that they're taking that into consideration.
They have had some preliminary discussions, so we're aware of that.
And lastly, I just want to say that thank you guys for all your efforts for doing your best job at throwing a dartboard and trying to hit the bullseye. And thanks for the efforts.
Okay. And they could add a tower to the building. If they're new building, they could add a tower as part of that new building too also.
Depending upon coverage.
Right.
Yeah, so. Okay, is there any other questions? If not, we're going to receive and file this report today, and then at our next finance meeting is when we'll vote. Okay, Bob?
Yeah, one issue here real quick. On April 4th, we passed the term sheet relating to my 30 pagers on GLEWA. And to that end, we resolved the Michigan Warehouse and United House of Prayer issue satisfactorily, where DWSD is going to fund that piece, and your resolution and communications to the communities brought additional pressure on the situation that resulted in some success in that area. I will be sending to you on April 6th the term sheet. It takes me an hour and a half to explain it. I figured this one was for 15 minutes. You know,
good.
I'll send it to you.
First time I've seen you smile in a long time.
That was 2 years and 3 months worth of discussions.
And we appreciate it, Bob. Okay, if all those in favor of receive and file this report signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, we're on to item number 2 on the regular agenda, Sheriff's Office 2018 Medical Marijuana Operation and Oversight Grant Acceptance. Need a motion. Quarles and Colwell. Go ahead.
This is the annual grant from the state of Michigan from revenue generated from the medical marijuana cards that are distributed to all 83 counties based on the number of registered medical marijuana patients within each county. what we're proposing to do is buy a new FLIR unit for one of the 2 helicopters, forward-looking infrared. If you're not familiar with that, it detects heat sources. It'll be a combination of funds from here, from the aviation unit fund, and then forfeiture dollars. The rest of the money will be used for overtime for the participants in NET, the Narcotics Enforcement Team, which is housed at Sheriff's Headquarters here on the campus, and we'll refund send to the locals. The money you see there, it's $6,000 and something per full-time officer, plus money for a clerical person. This money is used to enforce illegal marijuana operations. I passed out to you, which you should have a color photo. That is our garage at NET right now that's not being used for what it should be used. It's being used to store illegal marijuana. Just in the last 4 weeks alone, we've seized 3,000 pounds of illegal marijuana, several hundred pounds of marijuana oil, 4,000 marijuana plants, approximate street value of $5.5 million. That's just in the last 4 weeks. So just so it's clear, this will not be used to go after medical marijuana patients or legal grow operations that are within the current statute and allowed by the statute. If we get a tip of an illegal grow and we get there and we find out that they have the legal number of plants, we say, thanks a lot, see you later, and we walk away. So this is all about illegal marijuana grows and the enforcement of same.
Okay. Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What other uses could this infrared be applied towards?
Oh, we use it
I
for,
think I've seen
yeah,
too many Terminator movies.
we have them on both choppers right now. We upgraded the 1 unit several years ago, so that's up to snuff. This one is 14, 15 years old.
It's 2001.
It's used to locate suspects. It can be used during the day or at night, basically heat sources. So for illegal grow operations, if we get a search warrant, we suspect that somebody's got an illegal grow operation in a house or a building that's using an excessive amount of electricity. A lot of times Detroit Edison or neighbors will let us know that, gee, the meter's going like this all the time. Yeah. So we go to a judge, we get a search warrant, we take the chopper, put it up in the air, and we put the FLIR unit on it. We can see the heat coming out of the house or out of the building. And so that's what it's used for. For this, it can be used to find lost children, suspects fleeing a scene, a vehicle that was involved in a chase got away. You look, a heat source at night or even during the day, you can see the engine area, engine compartment is all heated up. It's a great tool.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Laurel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said this is attached to or is a part of the helicopter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other devices that is a part of cars or anything, or just strictly?
No, it is mounted to the helicopter.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Permanently mounted.
Commissioner Woodward.
So, I mean, we currently have this, right?
Yeah, it's
right.
It's
we're replacing something.
We're replacing one that's basically out of date.
Obsolete.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Cool. And I can support that. And I'll be honest, I can support it because it's got other utility. I think the voters of this great state, which overwhelmingly supported medical marijuana, and are going to be asked whether they support a more broader policy this November. And all things point that there's huge support for it. But given the utility, and this is frankly, an opportunity to help fund whatever that would be, the significant cost of that, of an obsolete device, I can support this at this time.
Okay, any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 2.
Zan?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Tubbs? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Yes. Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Colwell? Yes. Middleton?
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is item number 3, Treasurers Water Resources Commission, Oakland Macomb Interceptor Drainage District Full Faith and Credit Resolution, Refunding Bond Series 2018. Need a motion. Todd is moving it. Zach is supporting it. Okay, go ahead. We've made a motion, so now it's discussion. Go ahead.
Yep, Sid Lockhart Water Resources. We have with us John Axe, Treasurer, Leo. I'll let John Axe lead this.
This is a refunding of an inter-county drain project, which is Oakland and Macomb. And it's a refunding which, when we started the analysis in December, worked great. The interest rates have gone up somewhat, not dramatically, but enough so that if we were to issue them today, we couldn't, so we won't. What we'd like to do, we have Macomb's approval of full faith and credit, which they gave us in March. We're now on the agenda for here. We'd like to have the county do the same thing. We're not going to sell these until we can sell them with a savings. Okay. And we're, you know, a little ways away from that at the moment, but we anticipate the rates, as you know, go up and down. So we can go in at the first of any month to do these deliveries. So sometime between now and August, we probably will be able to do it. But we won't do it until then. There's no cost to the district until we actually can do it.
Yeah, Sid, go ahead, Sid.
We could not have, no. We had two other projects. We were able to get those out, but those were not inter-counties, and it takes so long to get through both counties that we didn't think we wanted to slow those up for this one, and we didn't. And it was a good thing we didn't, because we wouldn't have been able to do any of them then. So fortunately, we got those done, and we're just going to wait and see if we can do these.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to mention this, very similar to the Bloomfield Township CSO and the Evergreen Farmington bonds that the board approved earlier.
Okay.
Those had 6 month, I think it's 6 month callable.
Yeah, we had to do those at a specific date, and only twice a year. This one, we can do it at the beginning of any month. So
And
we
the
have
policy
flexibility.
is that we have to save $100,000 or more in order to refinance.
Exactly.
So, this interceptor drain, I think it's like 12 or 15 feet in diameter, and in places 80 feet underground.
100 feet at places. Yeah, this debt was for segment 1 of the OMID rehab. It was part of the $180 million rehab that we did to avoid the collapse that you saw in Fraser.
Yeah.
This system's underneath the ITC corridor. We have twin transmission lines on each side of us. We're 100 feet deep in places. And had we had that problem on this system, we'd lost power to the thumb of Michigan. Yeah, and so the rehab really avoided that kind of situation on the OMID system. Macomb didn't do the same thing that we did, so then hence they had their problem. But for segment 1, this was money that SRF determined ineligible.
Yeah.
So we had to have this bond series to cover ineligible costs of $6.7 million.
And the bond continues. It's just this refinancing is what's at issue.
I think there's 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other discussion? If not,
I got the treasurer.
Oh, Andy, you got a comment?
I just would, I just would say, I think, you know, to Commissioner Woodward's earlier point, I mean, it is a relatively volatile rate environment, and those rates are changing, and you saw that affect kind of the calculus on the go-ahead on this. The action today will free up OMID to have the ability to do this. This won't activate the actual refunding. But I'm glad that the chairman mentioned the $100,000 threshold. And any time that we do one of these, we got to make sure that it meets that standard and the standard of common sense and saving taxpayers money. And so hopefully we'll see some additional changes in the rate that will make going forward with this one, you know, the right thing to do.
Okay, Commissioner Woodward.
I guess that what's the minimum threshold that the rate needs to be to achieve that 100,000 savings?
In the memo in your packet, it was like 2.2%. It yielded like a $124,000 savings.
Yeah, there's a memo in there that discusses
Page 3.
that.
Oh, I see. I'm
From
sorry.
MFCI.
Got it.
So it's around that ballpark, 2-3.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 3.
Long?
Yes.
Cobb?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 4. And Department of Central Service, Department of owned vehicles, fleet expansion of 1 vehicle for water resources. Sid, you gonna stay around for this? Yeah.
No.
Vehicle Water Resources Commissioner, Operation Maintenance Division. Need a motion. Quarles is moving it, Kowal is supporting it. So go ahead.
Yes, Ben Lewis, Manager for Operations for Water Resource Commissioner. We're requesting an additional closed-circuit television truck, CCTV, to perform sewer investigation inspection on the 6.6 million feet of sewer that we operate and maintain in the county. In the last 3 years, we've added the city of Pontiac, which added another 1.4 million of feet of sewer. Much of the sewer is over 80 years old. We've embarked on an asset management plan, which is helping us in deciding when we should be TVing these sewers to try to eliminate the sinkholes, the leaks and whatnot. And we have the staff and the auxiliary equipment to go with this truck in order to be able to do this work. Currently, we subcontract out or use contractors to do that work. Our county forces, if we put the crew out at approximately $2,800 a day versus a contractor that could be upwards of $4,200 a day for their crew, we have a significant savings. There's still sewers that we're pretty much limited to 42-inch and under. We have some larger diameter sewers that we use contractors, and as we get short of people, we would also bring them on. But with the asset management plan, we're hopefully get our frequency of sewer inspection to a level that we can handle. We'll do that with what we have, and down the road, as the systems get older and maybe we increase, we have the storm side that we aren't looking at, and they are going to have asset management plans. We may need more, but this is a start. We request your approval.
Okay, I have Commissioner Taub and then Commissioner Long.
I don't know how you start that.
Yes, as I recall, because I live very close to the beginning of Farmington Evergreen system, and the trucks are on my street whenever they do inspections. So you're going from a contract run service to bring it in-house. Is that correct?
Not totally. We currently have 4 CCTV trucks.
Okay.
So we're going to add another one.
So you're going to eliminate the private contractors, is that mean?
No, we will not eliminate the private contractor. We have private contractors do overflow work that we cannot handle. We're trying to get a handle on how much physically we can do. We'll use a contractor to do the larger diameter. We have sewers that are 8, 9, 10 feet. The equipment that we have can handle up to, say, a 42-inch diameter sewer. We have many sewers that are larger than that. So we'll use outside contractors for that.
So they don't do the smaller sewers?
They do, but we can do them as well as them, and we can do it cheaper.
Okay, so the big ones are what, our main thoroughfares?
Well, actually, the big ones you'll find, the problem ones are, they put in years ago and they'll follow the lowest part of the topography, which might be along a river or something, which makes them very, well, not susceptible, but the consequence of failure is severe. So we need to make sure that we operate, maintain those, and keep them in working order.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Long.
My questions were answered.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 4.
Taub?
Yes.
Huff?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Caldwell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Next is item number 5, Department of Facilities Management licensing of 52.3 District Court, Rochester Hills, excess parking space rental to Bill Fox. And I need a motion, Fleming and Long. Go ahead.
Good morning, I'm Paul Zakos, Property Manager with Facilities. This is a continuation of a revenue producer. The District Court has some vacant parking spaces that have been available, and a while back one of the dealerships contacted the county, and we worked out a situation where they leased the spaces. Judge Fabrizio agrees with continuation of this situation. Purchasing put out a new RFP to gather quotes and bids from dealerships and businesses in the area. Bill Fox Chevrolet was the winning bid, and the old fee was $14.01 is going to $15.02 per month. This will be a 5-year agreement which is renewed annually with a mutual letter of agreement. So Bill Fox is very interested in keeping this lease, and it's looks like a
In the
good
last
situation.
2 years of that 5 years, there's a 3% increase, right?
Yes, 3%
Okay.
for year 4 and 3% for year 5.
Any questions? Commissioner Todd, yeah.
Well, we're getting this kind of late. March 15th is when the lease ended.
Yes.
Well,
Yep.
this is April, I think.
Yeah, well, with the RFP and getting everything together, it turned out Bill Fox is just on a month-to-month there, so.
Okay, thank you.
So-
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 5.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Caldwell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long? Yes. Todd?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank
Thank
you. Next is item number 6, facilities management, facilities maintenance and operation, information technology, data center, fire suppression replacement project. Crawford is moving it. Zach is supporting it. Playing musical chairs down at the other end, so. Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'll introduce what the project is, and then Mike can give you a little more background about how important this project is. But this resolution is about replacing a 30-year-old fire suppression system in the IT data center. Recent preventive maintenance testing of the system showed that, well, I should say, brought up some concerns about the reliability of the system given its age. We decided that we needed to replace the system sooner rather than later. It uses a halon gas system. Halon is no longer allowed. You can be grandfathered in to keep it, but if it ever discharges, then you have to replace the system. Well, if we replace it after it's discharged, then we're without a fire suppression system for an extended period of time. So this is a new, I wouldn't call it state-of-the-art, but it's a very widely installed, technologically advanced fire suppression system. Simplex is a competitively bid contractor, and at this point, I'll let Mike add whatever he'd like to add.
Okay.
I think the only additional comment would be that this particular gas, one of the advantages of it as well, is that it is safer for people in a discharge condition if that were to ever occur.
Commissioner Taub has a question.
It's just there's a typo on the third whereas. Whereas the fire suppression system uses a gas, what? The word is missing, whatever the word starts with an H that you use. Third whereas. Put that in, it'd be helpful.
It uses a gas. Halon is a gas.
Yeah.
The whole system is a gas that is used to suppress those fires.
Yeah, so instead of saying uses water to suppress fires, it says uses a gas to suppress fires.
That way it doesn't damage the equipment. That's
Okay, I get it.
Correct.
Yeah.
It seemed like the word, whatever the word you use.
Halon. Yeah, it could say it uses halon to suppress fire, for example,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, but that gas will change over time, so from a technology perspective, really, it's ambiguous at this point. We don't need to, because it could be different gas 5 years from now, so.
Yeah, it'll always be a gas-based suppression system, so.
Okay.
I guess. Thank you.
Okay, Fleming?
Just something, you said if that system in emergency ever discharged with the halon, that you would wouldn't be able to recharge that for a period of time until you could replace it. You'd have to do without the system altogether. I thought you could recharge that and use it again.
Well,
in the interim until you can get a replacement system. You're telling me if something happened today, we'd be without a suppression system until we could replace the whole thing. We couldn't recharge the existing system.
well, you'd have to use a different gas.
Different gas.
But as I understand, that system is designed specifically for halon. So that would be the delay, right? You'd have to either swap it out or retrofit it to take a different kind of gas. And for whatever time period that took, you would be without a fire suppression
Okay,
system.
that's what I understood.
Okay, any other questions on item number 6? If not, call the roll.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Koa? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 7, miscellaneous 18088, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security Division, Emergency Operations Center, and Incident Management Software. And it's moved by Zach, supported by Top. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Hardesty on behalf of Homeland Security. Our resolution is a proposal to purchase new software for Emergency Operations Center management, both on a daily basis and in disaster management. We're looking to use this in place of old software which was actually supplied by the state. This old software we can't configure. It does not, it lacks individual reporting capabilities for us. Part of our responsibility is to collect information from local communities during a disaster. So it lacks many of that function. It has no mobile-based feature. This was part of the IT process in the 2-year master plan. It went through that, then the project was bid. We had a wide range of responses to this RFP that ranged from the most financially feasible, which is the one we're proposing with BCG, all the way up to $1 million. So a wide range. We evaluated those prospects, Homeland Security, Purchasing, and the IT department together, evaluated those and came up with a recommendation for the BCG software. This software, the cost would be $54,671 for the first year, including installation, and $43,700 each year after that, and infrastructure costs of $14,760 annually. Most of the cost of this is borne out of the Technology Replacement Hardware Fund, $65,000 of that, with the remaining $4,431 coming from within our budget.
Okay. Any questions? If not, call the roll on item number 7.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Koa? Yes. Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 8, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security Division 2017, Homeland Security Grant Program Interlock Agreement Acceptance. Need a motion. Fleming is moving it, Quarles is supporting it. Go ahead.
Good morning, Homeland Security again. This is an annual federal Homeland Security grant. This money takes a while to trickle from the federal Homeland Security through FEMA, then to the state, then to the region, which is the Urban Area Security Initiative region, and finally to us. The total for this year that we are proposing approval of is $717,765. This is a decrease from last year of a little over $35,000. And last year was a decrease of $15,000. So unfortunately, we are seeing a slight decrease each year. This money helps pay for the intelligence, it doesn't help pay for it, does pay for the intelligence analyst and 2 solutionary planner positions within our office. And then the balance of that money is generally used for the most part on equipment or training that is allocated through a grant allocation committee made up of various public safety officials and county officials from around the county.
Okay. Did we used to be the fiscal agent for this, and that was taken away from us a few years ago?
We did used to be Macomb as the fiduciary for this.
Is that working out well, though? Working out?
It is working out well. They've maintained constant communication with us and with our finance department. So.
Okay. Any questions? If not, call the roll on number 8.
Quarles?
Yes.
Caldwell?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 9, Health and Human Services, Health Division, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan / Oakland University Prescription for Health Fiscal Year 2018 Grant Acceptance. Need a motion. Fleming is moving it, Woodward is supporting it. So, go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you. This is an Oakland University grant that they received from Blue Cross Blue Shield in the amount of $50,000, which for prescription for health, which is in alignment with one of the objectives, ECHO objectives in the Community Health Improvement Plan. And our good partner OU is looking to us to help implement and actually develop and implement this prescription for health program. They will be paying out of that grant $13,308 to pay for 500 hours of a part-time health educator. Not a new position, but this health educator also works in another grant of probably less than 500 hours. So she would charge those hours to this project. Our partners, our clinical partners in this project are OHIN, Mercy Place, Bernstein Center, and St. Joe is also providing a match by providing community health workers to work with their patients on this program as well.
Any questions? So, have we worked with Oakland University in the past?
A lot.
Do we?
There are strong partners both in ECHO and Healthy Pontiac Wake-Con. We do a lot of things together.
Oh, good. So, okay, no other questions? Call the roll on item number 9.
Caldwell?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Todd? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Oh, Woodward, Commissioner Woodward. Before you, Kathy, before you leave.
Just a quick question. I mean, I was very happy to read, a nice profile story in the Open Press about our, I don't want to call it lead remediation, but our, grant to help expand education and other preventive efforts, particularly among young kids. Is that a grant that's come through already, or is that coming through?
No, we've applied for it.
We've applied for the grant. Got it, okay. I couldn't tell from the article.
We had big plans for that grant, should we get it?
Yeah, already out there. No, I just want to applaud the department of pushing the limits and trying to build extra capacity to take on this issue.
Well, and we are hoping to build some really good toolkits where we can get out and educate physicians, and we would like it to be utilized across the state. So we have a lot of ideas, and we're hopeful to get it.
Excellent, wonderful. If you haven't read it, I encourage people to. I think it's a lot, and not a lot of money.
Nope,
but
not a lot of money, but a lot of work.
but a lot of work. So we want to congratulate you and your team on that.
Thank you.
Any other, Commissioner Long?
Can Mike give us an update on the water station agreement so we can call our schools to sign them if they didn't? What schools did you get? Are they due this week?
No, next week. Next week.
All right, well, I'm going to call my school because you said Walled Lake didn't sign it yet. So I don't know if other commissioners might want to call their schools.
And I provide a weekly update,
Right,
and I can do another one for either the end of business day today or tomorrow morning if you guys would like that.
Okay, because the week's going to go fast.
Yep.
It's the end of this week, so, okay.
Okay, Commissioner Fleming.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just wanted to announce we have a local road improvement subcommittee meeting immediately following this meeting.
Okay, Commissioner Crawford.
Yeah, we have an airport committee meeting at the airport immediately following this, so get in your little cars and drive over. Yeah.
Okay.
I missed that memo.
I'd be sitting down in the permit room, where's everybody?
Okay.
Yeah, but
No, I knew there was a meeting.
I didn't either, Jody said.
Okay, I have a couple announcements. One is if you're going to the economic development after the next finance committee, you got to talk to Joanne. The other one is because of economic development and a lot of business to take up at the next finance meeting, we're going to start at 9 o'clock rather than 9:30. So make note, and we'll try to make special note on the notice. What's the date of the?
26th.
On the 26th, finance starts at 9 o'clock. And local road improvement after this meeting. Yeah. Is there any other business to come before the finance committee? Without objection, I declare the meeting adjourned.